All right, today we're going to break down this incredible story about a huge leadership journey, one that transformed an IT department from, just a service provider into a true strategic partner. And they did it by putting human connection right at the heart of their entire strategy. And it really all started with this one powerful observation. After decades in the tech world, the author Ken Fanta realized that just throwing more tech at a problem, well, it wasn't working. The real secret to long-term success was something way more human. And that single idea, that little spark, it kicked off a complete rethinking of how his whole organization worked. Okay, so let's get into it. Before we can really appreciate the solution, we've got to understand the problem. And it all began with the limits of thinking only about the tech. Now, this career path you're looking at, it is absolutely essential to the story. Ken started out as a teacher. Then he moved into IT support and eventually spent 16 years as an IT director at UW-Madison. This path gave him this really unique perspective. He saw firsthand how tech was supposed to help people, but so often that human element just got completely lost in the shuffle. This journey is what ultimately led him to become a certified business relationship manager. I mean, a BRM's entire job is to bridge that exact gap between IT and the business. And this path led to a massive realization. The biggest wins, the most game-changing projects, they didn't happen because someone filled out a service ticket correctly. Nope. They happened when people built deep, truly collaborative partnerships. It was the difference between just fixing a computer and, co-creating the future together. And that insight, well, it changed absolutely everything. So what do you do with a realization that big? You don't just write it down in a memo, right? You build a whole new way of thinking around it. Let's dig into how that core idea grew into this powerful, relationship-centered philosophy. And this gave birth to the concept of the Relationship-Centered Organization, or RCO. Now listen, this is not just some fluffy, feel-good, let's all be nice to each other kind of thing. The key phrase here is strategic paradigm shift. It's about fundamentally rewiring how you do business, moving from just delivering value to actually discovering and nurturing it together. And wow, this slide just lays it all out, doesn't it? On the left, you got the old way. IT is reactive, they're just a go-between. But on the right, in the RCO model, they're a proactive, trusted advisor who actually partners with departments to find new opportunities. It's the difference between being a mechanic who fixes the car and being a co-designer who helps build a better one. Okay, so that all sounds great in theory, but does it actually work in the real world? You bet it does. Let's look at some amazing stories right from the front lines of this change. First up, check this out. The Department of Urology needed new IT support. Now, instead of just hiring some outside company, they chose to build a real partnership with the orthopedics department. This wasn't about convenience. It was a team-up built from the ground up on mutual respect and trust. And the result of building on trust? Well, it was real, and it was huge. This relationship-first approach led to over $150,000 in cost savings. I mean, that's a serious financial win that came directly from human connection. But as amazing as that number is, the real impact was even bigger. The teams also reported a 70% increase in how supported they felt. Now, just let that sink in for a second. They saved a ton of money while making the human experience of their work dramatically better. This is it right here. This is what a relationship-centered organization looks like in action. Okay, here's another one. Picture this. You're in the middle of a super stressful, high-stakes migration to Microsoft 365, and bam, a massive outage hits. This should have been a total disaster, right? Angry phone calls, chaos. But because the IT team had already built so much trust and been so transparent, people were patient and understanding. The crisis actually ended up making their relationship stronger. Incredible. Sometimes the best way to build that trust is with a simple analogy. There was this skeptical researcher who wanted to buy some really underpowered equipment. Instead of arguing about tech specs, the author just said this to him. And the researcher, he got it instantly. He bought the right gear and became a huge supporter of the IT team from that day on. So those stories are powerful, but this journey wasn't just about feelings. It was also about measuring the impact. So let's take a look at how they actually put hard data to these people-focused efforts. This chart is measuring something called business relationship management maturity in different departments, and it shows something so important. This kind of progress doesn't happen evenly.
You can see ortho rehab is way ahead of radiology, and that data is crucial because it proves you can't have a one-size-fits-all strategy. Every relationship is different and needs a tailored approach to help it grow.
And when you drill down into the actual skills people were developing, one thing just pops right off the page: strategic partnering. It scored the highest across the board. This is the proof in the pudding, folks. It shows that fundamental shift. From just being a service provider to being a true strategic partner, it's not just a nice idea. It's actually happening, and you can measure it. So after going through all of that, the good, the bad, and the ugly, what are the big lessons we can all learn from this whole journey?
Well, first, let's be real, this was not a walk in the park. There was pushback from people who were just comfortable with the old way of doing things. There was confusion about what these new roles even were. And honestly, there was a real emotional cost for the leaders driving the change. Transformation is tough stuff.
But out of those struggles came some incredible wisdom. 4 lessons really stand out. Number 1, you can't rush trust. Relationships take time. 2, influence you earn by listening is so much more powerful than any job title. 3, you got to know yourself. Being self-aware, even a little vulnerable, actually builds stronger bonds. And finally, number 4, you have to celebrate the small wins. They're the fuel that creates momentum for the big, sweeping changes.
And that all leads us to the final and maybe the most important question that this whole journey puts on the table, a question for every single one of us. Take a hard look at your own job, your own teams. Are they built on simple back-and-forth transactions, or are they really powered by deep, transformational relationships? Because the answer to that question might just be the key to unlocking your own sustainable success.